Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's a great season of life. I'm very thankful. I couldn't wait to turn 40. I know everyone has their own feeling on age and decades, but it really does just continue to get better. And I think just continue to draw closer to the Lord. The relationships get richer and better. Yes, my wife and I have been married 17 years. It's never been better, and I've been in love with her from day one. So I'm so thankful for that. And then we have three beautiful kids and dogs and church community members. And I really do feel just like a rich man. And I'm very grateful to the Lord for that.
Yeah, it's really cool when you in this media kit, y'all, he like based his life on numbers. And one of the things that he said was 6 weeks was the amount of time that he dated his wife before he proposed. And I was like, whoa, come on. Like, well, that's a crazy story in and of itself. Let's go there.
Oh my gosh. Wow. There's so much there, but when and we had been friends. I'd known her. She was dating one of my friends. I was dating another girl I thought I was going to marry. And then, things lead unto another. And one night it was just romantic. It was the right moment. The Lord was doing and stirring so many things in our hearts. And I couldn't hold back anymore. So I asked her. Also, interesting fact, actually, that is the first time that she told me that she loved me, is right after she told me she would marry me. And
wow.
Because that wasn't planned, but I had told her I loved her like so quickly. And she said, how can you say that? I think she was nervous, it was so quick.
Sure.
And I said, hey, look, that's great. I get to love you first. And that's what Christ did, right? That he loves us, and we love because he first loved us. So I'll love you first. And so she told me that she loved me right after she told me that she would marry me.
Wow, that's incredible. Meanwhile, I'm like a year and a half into my relationship with my husband, who was my dating experience at this time. We're 10 years married now, but I had to put him on a scavenger hunt to tell him I loved him, and was just praying that there was going to be an I love you on the other side. And that was such a vulnerable space to be the girl. I don't know why we've created in our minds that like we're supposed to have this knight in shining armor that comes in to first show us love. But I love your perspective on the fact that like there's actually a beautiful symmetry and a beautiful element that I get to be that example for Christ when you take the leap of faith and love first. That's crazy. Yeah. I love that.
Well, what you just said is totally true. I don't think there's, and this goes true, I think, across the board in everyone's journey, is that everyone's journey is different and everyone's story is different. And I think the Lord is looking to shine his the unique aspects of himself through all of those different stories, different personalities and strengths and so on and so forth. So, so often we can start to think that it has to look uniform. It has to look this way, like you just said, a knight in shining armor. Yet God honors our stories and where we've come from, and he uses those beautifully. So I'm always thankful for that too, and just hearing different people's stories as you are as well.
Yeah, I think it's so fun. So I want to hear, like, in the midst of that, where were you as an entrepreneur? Because as a serial starter, and knowing from your list of numbers that you started your first business at 11, I want to hear like that journey, because that is super exciting for me as an entrepreneur, but also as a parent who is infusing the concepts of entrepreneurship to my own kiddos who are 7 and 9. And Cooper's already started 3 businesses at this point.
Nice.
Made money off of everyone, profited on all of them. So it's really great. Rad. I'm trying to teach him, well, maybe I can just say, you can be a serial starter, because he doesn't like to stick with it. He's got a new idea and he wants to do it. So talk me through this serial starter. Maybe I don't need to change him.
Well, that's it. Oh man, there's so much there. I love that concept though. I think first and foremost, we have to, again, press into how is it that we've been made? And so I think as I look back on my life, I can very easily see just this pattern of being someone that has ideas and then creates something out of nothing, right? Or from some form or idea, and doing those with people a lot too. I believe entrepreneurship is very much a team sport. And so it's been great to just be partnered with some incredible people over the years. But knowing the fact that I'm a starter, and I think everyone falls somewhere within what I call the creation cycle. They're either a starter, a scaler, or a sustainer. So I'm very much a starter. There's nothing wrong with being anywhere on that spectrum or anywhere within that cycle. But for me, I love the 0 to 4 year timeline. And that's where I thrive, and it's where I've spent the most amount of time. And the reason I prefer the word starter too is it doesn't have to be a business. Yes, I've started businesses. I'm an entrepreneur, but it's also been churches and community events and projects and other types of efforts that may or may not have, a bottom line or a profit associated with it, but it's birthing something that then has form and substance and people can get their hands around, get on board with. And so that's been the career and the path that I've been on. But to answer your question about the 11 years old, my grandma had gotten me a book called Better Than a Lemonade Stand, 51 Business Ideas for Kids. And I just tore through that book and I was like, this is it. And so I started, some subscription services. And now with our own kids, it's been great. My daughter's almost 16. My sons are 14 and 11. And at least in our home, we don't do an allowance. My wife and I, we say, hey, you can identify a problem, present a solution, negotiate a price. And that has birthed, a very entrepreneurial spirit in different ways in each of our kids. And it's been fun to see.
I love that. What a cool concept. Now I want to get my hands on that book too, because I feel like I do that book as a parent and write it every single day I'm on the way to school with my kids when I take them, because we're looking around. I'm like, ooh, that could be a business idea. Ooh, that could be a business idea. And it started super early. Like my 4-year-old would be looking outside and he's like, why is nobody buying that land? The sign is always there. And I never said anything about it. Right. I'm like, okay, now we're talking real estate. Let's go, bro. Like I'm in. Let's diversify early. But it's such a fun place to be in that start zone. And yet at the same time, there's a lot of people who stay in the dream zone and they don't ever actually start. So that taking action to the first thing, there's an element of faith associated to that, to say, we're going to put our hands to this clay and we're going to see what happens. And starting doesn't mean that you're a serial finisher, right? So let's talk about some of the things that you have started and what has been like huge learning lessons in the process.
Oh, that's a great question. I think, in the businesses in particular, so that idea even of the dreaming but not starting, one of the things that I understand why a lot of people don't take that first step. Actually, it's not that they don't want to, it's that they don't know how to. So often they really don't know what's the first step that I need to take. And so one of the things for me is really investing into whatever it is that I'm doing. And that could be in a number of different ways. I mean, whatever your motivation is, for me, I'm a very peer and socially motivated person. So again, bringing on some other partners that can help stimulate and just really push you forward. It could be investing money into something. It could be just having some type of accountability partner. It could be going into an accelerator of some sort, investing your time. So there are so many different ways to get that ball rolling. And also it is something that the more practice that you have at it, the easier it becomes to really birth, again, something out of nothing, and to be okay with small steps. I think so often we start dreaming the big pictures, and those are great, but how do you get there? It really is baby steps and just taking one step in front of the other and plodding forward and moving that forward.